But yes, I wanted to take this time to welcome everyone to the Innovation Atlas. We did curate a story or story map of this interactive experience in the United States that we've developed year over year and optimized. All of the content from today's session, we've learned so much, so we will try to attempt to implement these things internally with our mighty, strong, small team. But we may reach out, and I hope everyone's open to collaborating with the Henry Ford. Now, before I get into the Innovation Atlas, I do want to share who the Henry Ford is for those who aren't familiar. This will take 2 to 3 minutes, but afterwards, I think we'll all understand why we do this work. But we're here in Dearborn, Michigan. We're a non-for-profit cultural museum or cultural institution and museum with 26 million artifacts. We span these artifacts over 4 venues, guest experience venues, hosting almost 2 million people a year. But we also have a charter academy for 9th and 12th graders, ranging at about 400 students who learn GIS through their 9th and 12th grade computer science classes. We have a learning and engagement platform that's all digital and free, and we'll go into that. But if you do want to use the Innovation Atlas, it is free and accessible, and it's housed right into our InHub digital online platform. Now, I bring all that up because I'm the Director of Analytics and Business Intelligence, and we're a data-driven cultural institution for the past 5 to 6 years. And we've added GIS not as a siloed entity or capability, but as a cross-collaborative capability that our Analytics and Business Intelligence team leverages to collaborate with our stakeholders and all the departments across campus and attractions, signature events, and private catered events like weddings and corporate events. So GIS is a really strong stack that came into our ecosystem about 3 or 4 years ago from a paid internship program we ran, and we'll dig into a little further. Now, across these, we also have a community outreach program that sometimes these partners are in Metro Detroit working with accessible communities, and they don't have a GIS partner, the resources, the expertise. Students today are getting a leg up. I wasn't taught GIS when I went to school. So leveraging some of our resources in our programs, we try to create dashboards, living atlas, story maps, in addition to what we've done with the Innovation Atlas, because it just aligns with our mission across several different elements. If any of these interest you as I review, please reach out and we'll have something towards the end that you can do that with. We also use GIS and leverage it for new campaigns. This is a farm-to-table, farm-to-school lunch across America where we've implemented dashboards to look at where our first campaign locations this past year are occurring. Then we overlay a lot of the data everyone is mentioning in their presentations, but across census, edible education, the USDA, and things like that. And we all leverage that through Esri, Living Atlas, and some of the products they support, because they support nonprofits very, very well as education institutions. Now, I will be honest, we are a paid non-for-profit venue that gets almost 2 million people a year. So we do leverage GIS for market research, communication, our membership penetration and database growth. Where are certain conditions happening and who has a higher propensity to visit certain exhibits, as well as, a lot of people say they haven't visited the museum since 4th or 5th grade, since they were on a field trip. We measure our field trip attendance as well because we give scholarships to a significant portion of schools who fall within our models and criteria, leveraging data that we visualize in a GIS application. So we leverage it across a lot of areas of our institution. And if you want to learn more, we won't go over thf.org, but please go and visit. We have a great video about our academy who learns through our collection and assets on our campus, in our museum, and in our Greenfield Village seasonal venue. Now here's InHub. This is our free educator platform. So after this, I hope you at least investigate and see what it's all about. But it's an educator platform that's 10,000 strong, and it's built by educators for educators. And we leverage all of our assets across innovation, across social change, and create learning and engagement assets that teachers can use any day they want during a classroom or a resource or a capstone project. But really the crux of why the Innovation Atlas is here is the Invention Convention program that we start. And we'll get into the research and methodology behind this, but this is a program that teaches 180,000 students across the country in the states. A lot of your universities or organizations and businesses are, that teaches kids how to invent. And then as they go along through the invention process and they make it to nationals, they have a chance to compete for an award and a patent. We've had students on Shark Tank. We've issued 17 patents, and we bring together a lot of data, a lot of placemaking to link lawyer firms, patent firms, and other resources to support this innovation and invention process. And all we do is ask them to solve a problem that is relevant to them. And that's why we did build the Innovation Atlas, a resource for identifying the barriers of impacting innovation. We built it in GIS for accessibility and sustainability, and we built it with a consulting partner, but with a goal and a fruition to maintain it internally ourselves, again, with our mighty, mighty team. So that's the Henry Ford as a whole, in a quick couple seconds. But we wanted to dig into, with all that considered, we approach data in an interactive way. Whatever data we bring in as a non-for-profit, it's our mission to make accessible to all those who can, with a feeling of sensitivity and empathy towards where the data, what the data shows and what it may represent. Because though these are facts, these are soft facts, hard facts, quantitative and qualitative. And GIS, in my experience across several things, is it really lets us bring it all into one place and house it and then empower others to have it. Also, I won't go through this video, but it will play in the background. It's the first time I've ever been animated. So it's about 4 minutes, but it's a really overview if you're sharing this with others. But the Innovation Atlas is a custom model. We've trademarked it and we're very transparent with it, but we leverage partnerships with the National Center of Education Statistics, socioeconomic and community data sources like the Census and the Bureau of Labor, as well as innovation data. Those are really our outcomes. How can we increase innovation equitably? How can we increase the rate of invention and STEM and science? And so we use validated research from universities like yourselves, as well as partnerships and collaborations. This is all the goal to measure and prioritize innovation through your impact initiatives and activations and your growth strategies. So this isn't new. We've been innovating and sharing and learning from industry leaders, researchers, and influencers since about 2022. We found the Los Einstein's research and went out with the team and spoke with them about this concept, and I'll share what we spoke with them about. But the end result here, and we're releasing 3.0 this month, but we have an ecosystem we're releasing this in. So that we can, when you log into NHub, you can get free access to some of the dashboards, story maps, living atlas, and resources to leverage the data and use it for your use case. So if you're not familiar with the Los Einstein's research, it's a measure of opportunity, moving from one community to another, but it was a quantification that if you move from a below average community to an above average neighborhood, in terms of upward mobility and opportunity, you're going to earn $200,000 more in your child's lifetime. So it's moving from one resource to the other. And so when we heard this, I said, okay, yeah, let's move from one area, but why? So the U.S. Housing Department really wanted to just empower people to have better resources in the communities. So when looking at research and meeting with the team, we know Wayne County because we're right here in Detroit, Michigan, or right outside of Detroit, Michigan in Dearborn. But we do see that Wayne County has about a 0.0038 Einstein score. Compared to another county in Michigan, Berrien County has a 0. And this is pretty frequently, Berrien County has undergone some changes due to a whirlpool manufacturing, similar changes that you see in other parts of the country. So we're encouraging people to move to areas that are darker, that have higher opportunity, have a higher score. But when we look at the areas, especially the audiences, we get free admission to, free memberships, free field trips. The audiences our community partners serve, we heard from them. And they said these areas are also highest in poverty rates, higher in renter households, higher than most areas in the percentage of access. So something just didn't feel right. Is innovation being dispersed equitably? Why are we telling people, and why is innovation higher in these zones than others? Well, the blue dots helped us uncover that there's innovation hubs in these areas, as well as Fortune 1000 companies where a lot of the innovation is happening. And because certain households and communities don't have the right background, some are minority, some are low income, some is based on where you live in terms of rural and native land and indigenous, some are because of your gender, we have less innovation. And that's a quote from Raj Chetty, the head of the research, who has spoken about this opportunity model on Capitol Hill. So we made a methodology, and again, we're as transparent as possible, and this is last year's, but we were taking it singular. And we were looking at, okay, how does poverty correlate to innovation outcomes in patent rates, STEM jobs, education attainment, some income? And we said, you know, it's not just one thing, and it's not a race or ethnicity thing. It's like the perfect cocktail, and every area, every community, every geography in America is different. So we started bringing in more and more attributes. But from the beginning, based on that partnership, we scored almost every school in America, a little over 100,000, including charter schools, private schools, and types of regular schools, alternative, tech schools, and schools with disabilities. And we've talked with these partners with the same mission and said, okay, now how can we make it more relevant, more insightful? So there's always a loop of feedback from our users. And we bring in more and more data. And so to take out that singular approach, we leverage almost 120 or so attributes and data sets based on the partnerships we're making, based on the user base. Some are focused on transportation. Some are focused on food security. All of these things impact innovation, we find. They also impact upward mobility, and it's not just STEM programs or what's the solution. We all have to collaborate, work together, and take that interactive approach to data and solution making. Now, we had a model, but how do you share that model? And so that's really where we partnered with Esri to launch a sustainable development of products and suite of resources. Zoom, searching, and clicking. Now, I'll use one of the representatives in this presentation. We'll just go to Rutgers University. So leveraging the World Geodatabase, we can search, place search, address search, zip code search, and see where this place is compared to other places. Now, universities are special. We have overlaid that data in our ecosystem because, yes, your university is in a certain area, and there typically is a lot of innovation happening there. But your university gets students from areas of barriers of innovation, or areas that have a propensity in this attribute versus another. So it really gives us a holistic sense of maybe the type of students in your program, type of students in the institution, and or what's happening around, and we'll dig more into that. Because once you start overlaying and looking at similar information, I'll look at the University of Minnesota. You start to see different, now this is by county, we have it rated from zip code, school district, but you start to see different ratings and different points of interest. There's a private school here in Duluth, but there's also public schools. Then you start to ask the question, what's the propensity of private and public schools? What's the propensity of Fortune 1000 companies and potential innovation hubs? Well, it's kind of like an a la carte. You know, we had to create something. We couldn't just keep on creating 50 to 60 to 800 maps. So we really asked you to explore with us. By explore, you know, I mean toggle between the layers. We put in a lot of data, filter by your state, zone, or relevant geography, zoom and drag throughout the map, just something to make it usable so that we can empower this data with a lot of individuals. Now, 3.0 is coming, and we do have that resource. But as you click into here, we quantify and put areas, and we use an experience builder as well as a suite of dashboards within. But going back to those areas and looking at, okay, what is the potential impact? How many schools are in here? And then if I combine these two states, what's the potential number of students I could impact? In terms of the community these schools are in, what's the poverty rate and what's the socioeconomic measures and attributes? Now, I did mention layers. Now let's dig in and see what resources are in the area. So this is an a la carte experience, and we do know that there are several use cases, and we're open to several, almost all ideas. But we bring in investments as well as potential resources, solutions in terms of the program that we implement, invention convention, and what is our penetration in some of these communities, as well as our partners. So you zoom out, and now you see a full landscape of innovation, not full, but as full as we're getting it day after day in its current state. But you're also getting a landscape of other resources, community. And I say community because in addition to the Innovation Atlas layer, you could turn it off and then have your a la carte view of whether they're organization-specific attributes in language speaking and disability, or veterans, children living below the poverty, and broadband availability. That's really creating a strong partnership as we develop this explore, engage, and filter model. We do go into 3.1, and that will be coming soon, but we brought in innovation demographics, a slightly different color variable, and another outlook with pillars as it relates. So this is free, and it will take plenty of time to navigate and engage with it. But we really want you to come compare, strategize with us. We want you to create innovation stories about your program. Again, if you log in through InHub, you get access to the free Explorer models. But for our affiliates, they came back and they said they wanted comparison features. They want to compare between school districts and counties, and they wanted to look at schools at a very, very granular level. As we filter here and or here, we can look at comparisons of the Big Ten states and then the school districts within them. So this was a comparison feature as our program strategizes and grows as a whole, as well as InHub and Invention Convention. This helps us grow equitably and grow in areas that we may not be in just yet. All of these things are aimed because we do have donors, we do have partnerships, we do have grants that we fulfill, and creating that ecosystem has fostered collaboration, data transparency, and shared progress to help us continue to grow and fill those use cases. So we've leveraged the Hub Premium feature to create pages for every affiliate. We have about 30 of them across the country, in addition to our sponsors and our partner organizations that value data and accessibility and transparency. These are some pretty large names, so we feel we're onto some momentum here as it relates to this ecosystem, this ability to compare, plan, and strategize with us. So I will breeze through this, but our next steps are to continue to outline the landscape for how and where there are inequitable conditions. We're going to engage with InHub and our Invention Convention affiliates to prioritize their resource and growth efforts. The data doesn't lie. And we're going to engage with other partner organizations because it's not just FIRST Robotics, it's not just Math Counts or Invention Convention or DoD STEM or anything like that. It's all of us. We're going to have to create some sort of collaboration and then measure it annually, year after year. We're also going to partner with businesses and corporate partners because every corporate social responsibility or every company, most companies, especially in the Fortune 1000, have a social responsibility strategy. So let's overlay their offices and their buffer zones and see where there's overlap. This was a real strong opportunity in the North Carolina region of two offices working together for an initiative towards STEM. So GIS can really show everything, and it can create a collaborative ecosystem. So a lot of these ideas are awesome, and I'm going to reach out individually if you don't register or show interest, at least tell me no. But we want to create an innovator pilot program that's crowdsourced, research initiatives. We're all playing with the same level of data. We share where the data comes from because it's all publicly inaccessible. But we want to leverage the unique insights and skills of each member, because we know Wayne County, we know Michigan, but you're all in several different states. You're all seeing innovation in a slightly different way. And some of these whys, some of these attributes, some of these metrics mean more to some areas like rural, metropolitan, small town, or indigenous, will come soon in the next couple of days. So I do thank you all for your time. I'm happy to answer questions. You can scan this QR code to sign up and kind of innovate with us, whether it's in person or hybrid. We'd like to meet you and learn from all of you.